Welcome to the lecture video on wireless networks. Myself Bhamini from the Department of Computer Applications. In this lecture, I am going to deal about two content, WiMAX and cellular telephony first generation. WiMAX. WiMAX means worldwide interoperability for microwave access. Mainly WiMAX is focusing on wireless connectivity because in the early days, mainly it focused on wired media. So, but in the current scenario, we are most probably thinking about wireless connectivity. So, WiMAX has been emerged. WiMAX provides wireless access up to 50 km for fixed stations and 15 km for mobile stations. WiMAX provides two types of services. One is fixed and another one is mobile service. Fixed service in the sense a base station can able to be linked to different types of antenna. The antenna provides a mechanism called as adaptive antenna system. There are different types of antennas it can able to be make use of. Either it can able to be omnidirectional or sector based or it can be panel based. So whenever you are going to focus the antenna in any direction, the fixed service can able to receive the signals from the antenna and it can able to telecast. So there are two types of provisions. First one is transmitting and another one is receiving in case of fixed service. Transmitting in the sense it focuses on the direction of the subscriber. Only the transmitter will be focusing on the direction of the subscriber. On the other hand, in the receiving side, it will be focusing on the subscriber station so that it can able to receive the signals from the subscriber. WiMAX provides MIMO antenna also, that is multiple input and multiple output antenna. That is, you can able to provide multiple transmissions at a time as well as multiple receiving at the same time. So to perform that, it can able to provide parallelism. That is the concept of WiMAX. Next one is mobile services. Mobile services means you will be subscribing more on mobile stations that move from one place to another. Here, in case of mobile services, roaming also plays a basic issues because roaming, whenever you are going to talk using mobile services, you will be walking around in your campus or moving far apart and only you will be conveying any information. At that time, the roaming provides a signal leakage and that also has to be taken into consideration while you are going to deal about mobile services. Then the 802.16 standards provides the wireless connectivity. Before 802.16 comes into issue, first wireless LAN was emerged and the project name is 802.11. Then next, when you are taking into a consideration about wireless WAN and MAN, we are going to take into the project called as 802.16, which is going to be connection oriented. Since we are going to have two types of services, fixed and mobile WiMAX, you have two partitions of 802.16 standards. First one is 802.16D provides fixed WiMAX and 802.16E provides mobile WiMAX services. This 802.16 project has been emerged and it has been linked to the two layers of the TCP IP protocol suite. First one is data link layer and the second one is physical layer. Data link layer has been partitioned into three sublayers and physical layer has been partitioned into two sublayers. Based on these two only, the WiMAX connectivity has been providing over. Data link layer has three services as I told, service specific convergence sublayer and MAX sublayer and security layer. Service specific convergence sublayer is going to be the main usage of DLC sublayer where you are focusing on broadband, wireless communication and also it is going to providing connection oriented service with a specific quality of service to be sustained in this service specific convergence sublayer. Next one is MAC, Media Access Control. This is also is going to be a connection oriented service. Here the packets are routed from the subscriber station to the remote area or to the mobile station where you can able to provide a connection identifier. Because since it is focused on connection oriented services, you have to link over the connection identifier. And also it provides a slot reservation. When you are going to transmit the frames or the packets from the higher level to the lower level, at that time you have to reserve the slot. So based on the slot reservation only, you can able to transmit the frames from the upper level layer to the receiving side layer. And also the frames are two types of frames. One is generic frame, which starts with the bit 0, and second one is a control frame, which starts with the bit 1. And next one is you are going to provide a addressing mechanism, 48-bit MAC address, both in the source as well as in the destination. Source provides the sender address and the destination provides the receiving address. And also you are going to map over a connection identifier to a virtual connection identifier, or it can be a original connection identifier where the data can be transmitted through this MAC frame. Next one is security. Since the internet is going to be worldwide and any malpractices can able to be occur while you are going to transmit the frame from the source to the center. So in that scenario, you need to provide the security mechanism. There are two types of frame formats as I told. First one is generic frame format and second one is it is going to be a control frame format. EC denotes the encryption control. It helps you to provide a single bit field which indicates the payload has to be encrypted. When you need the payload to be encrypted, you have to indicate the EC bit either to set on or off. And the second one is type, which helps you to provide a 6-bit field, helps you to specify the frame type. Then next one is CL, connection identifier. You are going to have a presence or absence of the final checksum. And K provides a 2-bit field. The 2-bit field helps you to provide 4 keys. So the key helps you to provide the encryption mechanism which has been represented in EC. And next one is length of the frame. It is going to be allocated 11-bit, and you have a connection ID which is going to be a 16-bit identifier which helps to specify how the frame is going to belong and where it is going to be transmitted. Here you are going to have only a header checksum, that is CRC. So with this 8-bit you can able to indicate which is going to be the checksum and whether the data has been correctly received in the receiving station. Data is going to be a variable length. You cannot able to fix the payload and the data can able to be go on varying. CRC is going to be a 4-bit checksum over the payload. Next one is the physical layer. In the physical layer, you are going to have two provisions. First one is transmission convergence, that is TDD. Either you can able to have a uplink stream or you can able to have a downlink stream. So based on the uplink or the downlink, you can able to transmit the data or you can able to receive the data. Next layer is going to be the physical medium dependent sublayer, which has a band of 10 to 66 gigahertz. Here the modulations, what are the different types of modulations you can able to perform in the physical sublayer is going to be, first one is QPSK, that is quadrature pulse station keying, that is 2 bits per baud, which is going to be for long station, and QAM quadrature amplitude modulation for 16, that is 4 bits per baud for medium distance, and quadrature amplitude modulation 64 for 6 bits per baud short distance. And you can able to have either 802.16D as I told, or E, which is going to be fixed WiMAX, or it can be a mobile WiMAX. In this you can able to add an additional band of 2 to 11 gigahertz, and the FDM what you are going to provide for multiplexing is orthogonal frequency division multiplexing for fixed WiMAX and like that. Next one is cellular telephony. Cellular telephony is focused on also, here also you are going to focus on the wireless concept, and here you are going to have two moving units. One is the mobile station and another one is stationary unit, or you can able to have two mobile stations. Here the service provider must able to locate and track a caller, and it can able to assign a channel to the call, and then only the transfer can able to be applicable from the channel, from the base station to the another base station. So if you are going to moving out of range, you cannot able to have a strengthened signal. So to overcome that, you need a mobile station or a stationary unit so that you can able to capture the channel and you can able to broadcast this information from one station to the another station. Next one is cellular service area. Here the cellular service area is going to be covered in the form of cells. The cell will be having an antenna which will be controlled by the base station, and this base station will be controlled by the mobile switching center. The mobile switching center coordinates all the base stations and has a telephone central office. So this mobile switching center helps you to connect the calls, and it helps you to record the calls, as well as it can able to provide appropriate billing when you are going to communicate between the sender and the receiver. The cell size is not fixed and the radius of the cells can able to be varying from 1 to 12 miles. Cell size should be optimized so that it can able to prevent the interference between the two neighboring cells. Then what are the operations we are going to discuss in this cellular telephone is frequency reuse. Since you are going to capture in the form of cells in the hexagonal pattern, the frequency has to be reused beyond the neighboring cells. So for that you are going to have a reuse factor. N denotes the reuse factor and helps you to repeat the frequency after a number of cells. So you can able to have the reuse factor either as a 4 or you can able to have a 7. If you are going to have the reuse factor as 4, one cell separates two neighboring cells. If you are going to have a reuse factor as 7, two cells helps you to separate over. Then how you are going to transmit from this using the cellular telephone is when you enter a 7 or a 10-digit code, you can able to press a call. Then once the call has been pressed, it can able to go on reaching the receiving side. So when the receiving station takes off the mobile phone, automatically the mobile switching center locates a particular place where the receiving is being applicable using the queries, and the process of querying to the appropriate location is going to be called as paging. When more than one mobile station answers, then both the sender and the receiver are going to be communicating. Then the voice communication begins and you can able to chat, and once all the chatting has been over, you can able to switch on the mobile phone, switch off the. So how here that strength of the signal can able to be weakened, that can able to be identified using handoff. So there are handoff helps you to check the strength of the signal, because if you are going to go beyond the particular base station, then you can able to have the signals to be weakened. So to overcome that, you can able to have two types of handoff. One is hard and another one is soft. Hard means when the mobile base station is going to migrate from one base station to the new, then automatically it will be connecting to the new station, means it has to break from the previous, then only it goes to the new one. That is going to be called as rough transition. At that time the signals can able to be weakened, then only it can able to be strengthened. So to overcome that, you can able to make use of soft handoff. So the soft handoff means before you are going to break the previous base station, you have to first connect to the new base station, then only the old base station connection will be released, so that you can able to have a smooth transition. And here also you will be having a roaming as a main feature. So the roaming helps you to provide this particular concept. So this is similar to that, the how you are going to communicate means similar to that of the snail mail, what you are going to do in the old post office system. Then next, thank you.